Okay, stream time. So, today I was supposed to play Word Forward, but I didn't check the schedule. And as you know, I always forget what's on the schedule. So, today I'm playing what I should have played yesterday, which is this Sound Dodger, an adult swim game. It is actually a lot like Pragma in that it is a bullet hell game that you control with your mouse. Unlike Pragma, it understands what a bullet hell is supposed to be. That is, the bullets are slow and wide, as opposed to aimed and fast. And also, all of the it was just needed. All of the attacks are created by. This is gonna be hard to talk over. Created by music. And so. It's sort of. It's sort of a reverse rhythm game where you're trying to avoid the rhythm rather than staying with it. But normal bullet hell principles still definitely apply, such as with the bullets aimed at you and then spread radial outwards can be dodged by just moving very slightly. The slow-mo also helps a lot, but I'm in the precarious situation where I'm too proud to use those kinds of tools, but I'm also not good enough to actually not need them. So we'll see how this goes. The one level I tested before starting this, I noticed there was a Danny Baranowski track, which is super cool because I love Danny Baranowski. If you don't know him, he did the soundtrack for Super Meat Boy and the original Binding of Isaac. Binding of Isaac Rebirth, I believe, used a different composer, and that's why it doesn't sound as good. But notably, Baranowski also did the soundtrack for Cadence of Hyrule, yes, but also Crypt of the Necrodancer. And I would say that's honestly what he's best known for nowadays. That soundtrack is super good. I mean, it's a rhythm game, so it uses his music in a big way, which is super nifty. Yeah, this is how Pragma should have played, basically. Where small, meaningful movements and tight concentration are what win the day, rather than Twitch dodging the lasers, essentially. Or doing math, even though the math was the easiest pattern to dodge. And I am happy to say that I never messed it up. Oh! Messed that up, though. Oh! Got cocky at the end and I got caught. Well, I did okay. 2 new levels unlocked. So this game has a lot of tracks, and I don't know if I'll get to all of them, but I already dig it. And so far, the music has been quite good. And hopefully, won't send me to YouTube jail. That's ideal. Ooh, those track. gotta figure out if they track based on distance traveled, amount of time spent active, or so you can mislead them, it seems. One incentive to do well and to not need the slowdown is so you can hear the music properly. That's a really interesting sort of diegetic way of doing things. You're incentivized not just by getting those sweet points, but also hearing the nice music properly without the slowdown. My posture during this is going to be, oh my god, is going to be just awful, because I'm leaning forward to stare at my screen super closely. Oh. That's a mean trick. I like it, but it's mean. So it means that being at sort of the back of an attack is not necessarily safe, because it might just go backwards on you. Wah, wah. But knocking on wood, I haven't been hit yet so far. So I already feel like I'm improving a little bit. And it's good that the backwards movement is predicated by the song doing a wop, 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 wop. Oh, that was really close. Hey, didn't get hit though. Only you slow down a bit. 98%, baby. On a, a 1-star song. But that's not what we talk about. I looked at all the artists who did music for this, and there's a few. There's like 5 or 6. The only one I know is Danny Baranowski, but I'm not particularly connected to the... Is it right to say indie music scene? To the music scene that would produce music for this game. Now, if you put a Millie song in here, I'd know that. Because dang, I'll play anything that has a Millie song in it. Playing indie rhythm games, where the music is originally composed for the game itself, is I think one of the best ways to like combine gaming with music appreciation. The mainstream, the way most Western people experienced rhythm games first was something like Guitar Hero, which used all licensed music. And that's what's definitely going to be the most popular, the most successful. But dang it, if it isn't, kind of disappointing, kind of a missed opportunity. Like, come on, you got this whole new thing, why don't you want to make your own music for it? You know? But part of the draw of Guitar Hero was the idea of playing essentially a cover band. So it would only make sense to play songs that already exist. This one seems a lot easier so far. I believe the soundtrack of this game is purchasable. I know on Steam, but in order to get it on Steam, I'd have to own the game on Steam first. And notably, the big itch bundles don't give Steam keys. You can usually ask the developer for one if you can prove you already own the game, but like, I don't know, that feels a bit scummy. But probably the soundtrack is available elsewhere. It usually is, even if it's something like SoundCloud. And it's already something I would consider putting on my phone. I mean, you get Danny Baranowski, and that's gonna do a lot of work for you in giving your soundtrack credence, the pedigree that people want before they buy music. You know, people do want to recognize artists, and that's again why Guitar Hero and Rock Band use licensed music. And indeed, as the Guitar Hero and Rock Band games came out, there were changes from game to game on like how they played and such. But for the most part, it was really just different licensed songs being added. 100%! First 2-star. I'm looking forward to MIDI Murder Box. So rhythm games that use original music tend to be sort of one and done affairs. There's no MuSyncs 2 or Demo 2 or Muse-2. Actually, does Muse- use original music? I don't know. Instead, they either just release it and they're done with it, or maybe they release DLC for it, like Demo did. Demo got a remake, and incidentally, it's from Demo that I know Millie. She did a few songs on that, including 9.8, which is a really good song. And it was a good showcase of how Millie makes music, in that she has a super soft voice, a super sweet sounding voice. And then you listen to the lyrics and you're like, wait a minute, hold up. 9.8 as in the acceleration of gravity, and it's about someone falling to their death. And that is just sort of what Millie's music is kind of about. A dichotomy between the sound of the vocals and the meaning of the... Ah, that was really fast. The meaning of the vocals. Yeah, this being a dubstep song, is gonna, there's gonna be lots of that back and forth, lots of that backwards movement. But I can definitely already tell you that I'm super digging this. And this is what Pragma should have been. So the issue with Pragma was definitely not... I wasn't sure if it was going to start going fast or start going backwards there. The issue with Pragma was definitely not that it was a cursor-based bullet hell. That is not the problem. The problem is that it didn't understand the fundamentals of what makes a bullet hell fun, which is less about getting that twitch movement dodging and more about sort of navigating a maze that's constantly moving. These are less bullets and more walls to navigate around. Ah! Oh, that didn't feel fair, though. I had to use a lot of slowdown for that. Okay, okay. Yeah, so far the thing that gets me most is the backwards movement. Because that goes against my bullet hell training. So I've already played this one, and as you can see, I did excellently at it. But this is the only Danny Baranowski song in the game, so let's dive in. And you can definitely tell it's a Danny Baranowski song. It sounds like it. And there's that sound. You could just imagine running Super Meat Boy to this. Not so much Isaac. Or very much running Crypt of the Necrodancer to this. Bop, 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 slash, jump, slash, jump, slash, jump. Now that sort of rhythm. One interesting thing about Crypt of the Necrodancer is that all of the songs are in 4/4, which I don't think is normal for Danny Baranowski, but it was a deliberate gameplay choice because it's a rhythm game second and a dungeon crawler first. So if you're asking the player to do a dungeon crawler to a beat, it's important that the beats stay somewhat consistent so that they can get a rhythm for it, a feel for it. The only exception is the King Konga fight is in 7/8, and notably that trips people up all the time, and by people I do of course mean me. Oh, that was sloppy of me. In the King Konga fight, if you do an input on the 8th beat that there's nothing, you get punished extra hard for it. Not just the normal punish for going off beat, but like King Konga will run up to you and monkey slap you. And it's a really good example of why it was so important that the whole game be in the same time signature. Because otherwise, people would just get tripped up in a way that's not entirely fair. But since they didn't do that, it's not a problem. Slow circles seem to really do well on this map. Tighten up the circle a bit so I don't get nicked by one of the triangles at the edge. Ow! That's embarrassing. I was doing so well there at the end, too. That was better than I did the last time. Alright, MIDI murder box. Oh, that's aggressive. More than MIDI, this is distinctly Commodore 64 sounding. The Commodore 64 had very limited sound channels, and so a lot of the best Commodore 64 music is heavily arpeggiated, because that's a way that they could add depth to the music without needing additional channels. Normally you would just add more layers to music, right, if you want to give it more depth. But that just wasn't an option for the Commodore. Notably, Commodore games generally only had either music or sound effects. They couldn't do both at the same time. If you tried to have a sound effect play during gameplay, it would make the music cut out. You saw that sometimes with the NES, which had, I believe, 4 sound channels. So simpler songs could run alongside sound effects, but more complicated ones would get interrupted, and that's no good. But the Commodore was much more limited in that respect. So a lot of the best music from those games, from something like, no, not Miner 49er, Monty on the Run. Monty on the Run has no sound effects in its gameplay, at least I'm pretty sure. But it has that legendary song. No, wait, no, that's Ghouls and Ghosts. I can't get the tune for Monty on the Run in my head. Notably, that song was used in I Want to Be the Guy, which was mostly a celebration of Nintendo games, but having a Commodore song in it shows you just how good of a song it was. And it wasn't just used anywhere either. It was used in the Castle of the Guy, the final Castle of the Guy, during the portrait rooms where you see all of the former the Guys. Monty on the Run plays there, of all places. So all the Mega Man songs, the DuckTales leading up to it, the Castlevania, the Legend of Zelda, yeah, they made up the meat of the game. But one of the most important parts of the game gets a Commodore song. And knowing what the limitations of the Commodore was, it really speaks to the talent of the composer who made the music for Monty on the Run, which I'm pretty sure was just the programmer, because let's be real, those games generally only had like 1, maybe 2 people working on them. Really speaks to their talent in making music with limited tools, and it's extremely impressive. And this song borrows from those elements. Obviously not entirely. You can hear a bass line that just wouldn't have been possible in the Commodore, but the main melody is the arpeggiated bloop style of the Commodore 64, and it still sounds great today. As does the NES chiptune. The less said about the Master System chiptune, the better, because that one sounds awful. When you get accustomed to... Oh. You know what? I'm restarting. That was too bad. When you get accustomed to bullet hells, you can sort of start talking while playing them and not be too distracted. I'm not out that level yet, hence the mistakes. No, I'm gonna do better than that. It's good game design, incidentally, when the player gets beaten in some way, and instead of going, it's so unfair, they go, no, I can do better than that. Let me prove myself, game. And that's the difference between this and Pragma. If in Pragma you had, like, lives, and you could get through a level suboptimally, I'd be like, we take those, baby, we take those all the way to the bank. But in this, it's like, no, I want to do it right. Sure, I could just get hit over and over again. You could get through a song literally just standing still and accept your bad score at the end. I don't think there's a failure state. Or if there is, it's pretty generous. But no, I want to do well at this because I'm having a good time and I want to play the game sort of properly. Alright, at this point I will accept a mistake. And I will use the slow down some. It's funny that when I start really concentrating, I have to slow down talking. Like, no, that's the lower priority. That needs to get slowed down. The visual processors come first, and then the hand motor. And then the mouth things can happen if there's room left over. Dang it. Alright, circles. Time for circles again. Ah! Alright, well, this is a 3-star song. I guess we're seeing what 3-star does. That's one bassy line. Let me go. Let me out. I should probably turn the volume up on the recording. It seems a smidge low. I'll do that after this level. And imagine if they put Scarlet Fire in here. Scarlet Fire. That is still a decent score. Let's try that. That looks better. Sonic. Like the Hedgehog? The stars. Ooh. Staying in the center, I think, would have been perfectly safe. It's about to speed up, I can tell. Oh, it's wubbin'. Yeah, I had a feeling the center would be safe there. That's another thing that bullet hells are really good for, is faking out the player. Making it seem like they're about to come under attack, when really staying safe would be staying still would be perfectly safe. Notably, there's an attack in the Yukari fight in Touhou 7 where there is a safe spot that you need to find, and then as bullets are spawning in, and then as long as you stay exactly there, as the bullets start to like swirl around and go out, they'll all go around you safely. It's not realistically possible to dodge them while moving. You just need to find that safe spot and be brave. And that's the fundamental that was being used in this level. is staying in the center and being brave even as the bullets start closing in.
Stars, galaxies, the universe, and beyond.
Gotta stay in the center to stay safe. Otherwise, you're facing really fast bullets that are just too much to really dodge. Part of getting good at bullet hell games, especially playing them, you know, untested, unpracticed, is being able to recognize a pattern like that, where it's essentially trying to trick you. And then once you do that, it becomes much easier to figure out how to dodge. You start to feel trapped, you know, and Monkey Brain wants to get out of there. But the reality is that staying put is so much safer. Yeah, the audio looks better now. I can't exactly look at it that often. $100. It's quite a few. Quite a few songs. Okay. I'll do as many as I do, you know. Bullet hells are hard to play for too long a time, and I'm not going to stress about doing them all. This is the type of thing that I could stream again, though, for sure, and just play more of. And I'll almost certainly play it in my free time, because I just totally dig this kind of thing. Whoop. Oh, nice putting those purple attacks on the snare drum. That's a good way of using the medium. Ah! I was trying to dodge that without a slowdown, and I made it worse. Whenever bullets are aimed at you, the less you move around, the easier they're going to be to dodge. They only get really nasty when you start wigging out and going all over the place, because then they're going to start wigging out and going all over the place. This I suppose you could call a pathway set, where it's giving you sort of this racetrack, this road to go down, without touching the edges. And as long as you stay in the path, you're safe. But because it winds so much, it is tricky. But by doing that, you can sort of force the player into staying in a certain spot, the same way you would force them to pay attention to a certain spot in a normal rhythm game where you're like clicking buttons. It's clever usage of the sort of interweave between the two ideas. Oh. Ah! That was all wrong. You know, I can do better than that. I just did the wrong thing dodging those. I needed... So there is a caveat to streaming bullets, and that occasionally you do need to make one big movement to make a gap. And then you make a break for that gap and start again. Let them shoot aimed at you in like the same spot a few times, then make a big movement and get away. And you see that time I was able to get out with minimal slowdown and no hits. Here, they're just sort of shooting straight from wherever they spawn, so just wherever sort of makes the most sense to dodge them from, that's where you want to be. And here, you need to watch the edges, because that's showing you where it's shooting from. So one thing that a lot of bullet hell games do get wrong is visual clarity, and this game is extremely visually clear. Often, you know, you want to have a nice background and interesting looking models and such, but that gets in the way of the visual clarity. The player needs to know where the walls of that maze they're going through are. This certainly is harder. Notably the Cave games. Despite Cave being like one of the most successful bullet hell companies. I didn't quite sneak through. I think they're actually really bad at visual clarity. Often all their bullets are the same color and kind of amorphous, which means that it's not entirely clear where they are and where the gaps are, because they probably aren't as big as the actual models, but you don't know exactly how not as big they are. And sure, a more skilled, more practiced player knows, but it's not fair to the people who are trying to learn the game, because you're just withholding information from them. So the only people who are going to get good at the games are the ones who are already invested. And that sounds like a terrible idea, and it only works if you're already like the biggest name in town. Touhou makes a great middle ground. It uses very attractive looking patterns and nice looking backgrounds, but doesn't sacrifice on visual clarity to do so. This is the Stark version, where it's extremely clear, but you know, it's not much to look at. But since the game is focused on the music first and foremost, it's fine for it to be Spartan in appearance. Helps accentuate the music. The music is what you're looking at, so to speak. And in a way, you really are looking at the music, since the bullets are patterned based on it. Go down that little road. This kind of feels like, yo, do you know Greenpeace? Also, is there some audio crust going on? This kind of sounds like not that high quality. Maybe it's just my cheap headphones. This song I'm not so impressed by. Like, I'm sure it's a lot of hard work, but to sound, generic? I don't know, this kind of feels like the type of song that if it doesn't have any context behind it, I'm just not that interested. I almost took my hand off the mouse there because I felt so safe in that circle. And then it would have gotten skewered. Yeah, just slow circles sort of win the day until you need to go fast. Nothing here is aimed. It's all what bullet hell enjoyers call popcorn. Because like throwing a bunch of popcorn in the air, it just sort of lands randomly. Some people will also call it dodging rain, but usually popcorn patterns are not that dense. The only dense patterns are the ones that are highly aimed or otherwise consistent. So it's like if the rain fell in equidistant sheets. And that's how you dodge it. Incidentally, touching the edges is safe, you just can't go beyond them. So that's hopeful. I don't have to be like, oh, don't get too close. You can see how easy the song is showing off mechanics that would put me in danger. Like just sitting next to one of the nodes as they're firing. And I'm like making jokes about it, about how it's safe to do so. So let's call this one a bit of a miss. They can't all be winners, I suppose. Not every song is the disappearance of Hatsune Miku. Oh look, I had to use the slowdown. I almost got hit. Good job, stage. You almost got me. On one hand, this feels like an early game difficulty sort of song, and on the other hand, it would probably not be a very good first impression. Yeah, that was a little tricky. One brief little slowdown moment, and yeah, that's 100%. Dwight. DeWalt, 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 DeWalt. Some definite popcorn here. When it's popcorn, you just want to make these really small, measured movements. But now they're aimed again. And because of the sort of flanking maneuver they're doing while being aimed, it necessitates a bigger, grander movement to get out of the way of. You sort of need to circle around them, get back to a safe spot. Here's an example of some classic bullet hell level design philosophy for you. Thank you. Oh, jeez. Start with an easy pattern and let the player get used to it, and then layer in additional attacks. That wouldn't be hard on their own, but with the thing they've already gotten used to is suddenly really difficult. Alright, that was tough though. Yep, circle strats here work quite well. You even have a nice little outline to be your guide, although the outline is getting bigger. No singing, that makes the attacks harder. Incidentally, there is a practice mode called Zen mode where you can just sort of listen to the songs and watch the pretty shapes. There's also an option in, well, the options to, I assume, like, stop the speed up effect when you take a hit, so that you can listen to a song while still, like, playing without it getting distorted. It'd be really interesting to do a study on, like, people who play really hard bullet hell games with an eye tracker and watch where their eyes go. Because when I play them, I'm usually focusing on a space, like, just adjacent to my character. And it sort of follows where the path of the moving maze goes. Getting better at that. But I still need to use a little bit of slowdown. That was a good one, though. That was really tough. A really good challenge. Still got a decent score on it. This type of game, you really don't want to be playing for too long. I'm not stopping here, but I need to, like, stare at a wall for a bit. I'll be right back. Okay, that's better. Feeling dangerous. Kinda gotta stretch your eyeballs when playing a game like this. Have them go all the way to the sides. Look all the way to the sides, all the way at your peripheral. Like, do a thumbs up and put it right to the edge of your peripheral, then try to focus on it. And do that all around your the edge of your vision. That'll sort of relax and stretch your eyes. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, that was closer than it needed to be. There's a graze. A graze counter, actually, a graze counter in this game would be very much appreciated. Some way of showing additional mastery. Grazing in bullet hells is when you get your model right up next to a bullet, such that your model and the bullet's model overlap, but the hitbox and the hurt box don't touch each other. Because it seems that this circle isn't the hitbox. The hitbox is actually very slightly smaller. It's sort of like the white space of the circle is the hitbox, and the outline doesn't count. But in a lot of bullet hell games, your character will be, let's just throw out some numbers, maybe like 10 pixels by 40 pixels, and the hitbox is only this like 2 by 2 square inside of the hitbox, in the middle of it. That's the only place you can actually get hit. And so you can add more information to the character model, have them be easier to see, but still having a very small hitbox from which to do the needle threading. You know, the tightrope needle threading that the game wants you to do. Because if you only had that tiny hitbox, it'd be really easy to lose yourself in the clutter of the attacks. You don't want that. So instead what you do is you make a nice looking character, and then you have the option to like turn on the hitbox indicator, which will show you exactly where you can get hit inside the character. So your eyes are always looking at the character, but then you can focus more specifically on exactly where the hitbox is to be able to navigate it and not lose track of it. It's sort of a best of both worlds situation. In Toho games, and that's where my knowledge comes from, the hitbox indicator is turned on while focusing, while holding shift, which makes you like move slower and have a different shot type, usually a stronger shot type, and that'll turn on your hitbox. That was introduced in Toho 7. It wasn't in any of the previous ones. The hitbox was still there, it was still much the same, but you just couldn't see it. And it was generally considered a good idea to include that indicator. That's really fast! But the center is safe. The fact that the attacks come from all sides of you does make streaming a little bit harder. Because you could suddenly be attacked from a side that you're very close to, and you don't have the time or the reaction speed to get out of the way. Normally, of course, a shmup is going to be the attacks come from the top, you're at the bottom. Or left and right, etc. And attacks that come from the side are always more difficult. Or like, they come from your flank. They come from the direction you're not looking at. Just as true in war as it is in video games. The stakes being low doesn't change the fact, you know. So I've said before that I'm not very good at bullet hells, and I'm like, I'm doing pretty well at this, but it's remarkable how true my statement still is. Because the levels the bullet hells can get to are pretty nutty. And you really do, I mean, the casual viewer is really going to see that dodging rain aesthetic. But once you understand the theory of it, it becomes a lot more approachable, definitely a lot easier to read. And reading a pattern is very much part of the battle. As the people who play Toho games on Lunatic, for example, aren't twitch dodging, like, almost at all. And they really don't like patterns that they kind of have to, you know, popcorn patterns. Those are generally considered the most frustrating ones to deal with. Instead, there's definitely some memorization. Shmups are short by design, and so memorizing essentially what's going to happen and what strategies best deal with those attacks is very much a valid strategy. But more than that, just knowing the different strategies that can beat different challenges consistently goes a long way in making even really otherwise difficult patterns approachable. Getting trapped a lot here. I didn't think I'd get hit there. There we go. Couldn't find a way out. Gotta find the exit. Gotta find the exit they call paradise. That's a nice trick, Mr. Cosplay. Oh, Travis, you nasty little boy. I don't know, I just got No More Heroes quotes running through my head now. Garden of Madness, etc., etc. Slide right through there. A steady hand definitely helps. If only I had one. These homing bullets make you take a much faster approach to getting through patterns than you normally would as a bullet hell player. Takes you out of your comfort zone a little bit. I like it. I like it. Because doing those fast dodges through the patterns does feel really good. It's just usually the wrong choice. So having something that encourages or even requires you to do that cool strat, now that's good design. And that was just bad play on my part is all. Of course, having the ability to just slow down the attacks at will in exchange for a small cut to your score definitely helps in being able to do those sweet matrix dodges. That was pretty close. Ah. Yeah, I was outside the circle that I was supposed to stay in. So that made things harder. Ah. I'm just getting sloppy now. Sort of take a triangle pattern to avoid these homing blocks. Alright, that was sloppy, but I'll take it. And it's still 85%. That's still a B. There is some advantage to knowing, especially at the beginning of a song, where the center point is. Because some shots will be aimed at you, and some shots will be aimed at a specific point in the stage. And naturally, if it's being aimed somewhere on the stage, where are you going to aim it, right? You're going to aim it at the center or some space related to the center, like the quarter wave point or some percent. So staying in the center means you're having multiple things aimed at you. Oh, that was just bad on my part. Which is really good for being able to dodge them consistently. Of course, as the song goes on, the center point becomes less and less clear. So that stops sort of working. But it's a nice way to be able to start things on, oh, jeez, a more readable front. Yeah, I definitely don't have this one's number, so to speak. This one's got me pretty good. Yeah, come on, I want to get some good time in without the slowdown to recover some score. If you haven't noticed, you unlock songs by your cumulative percent. Your cumulative high score percent, I guess I should say. So scoring better on songs means you unlock more songs. Alright, I pulled that back decently, but there's still a good amount of song left. Alright, come here. Aw, jeez. Come here, fellas. Take you on the Circle Express. Maybe more ovaloid. Ah, man. In this case. Ah, just, it's like wherever I go, you're right there. Okay, well, I mean, that's like what, 80%? 85? 87! That's better than I deserved, I think. Cubes. That's interesting. Ooh, 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 funky, funky, funky. Bullet hells can sort of do something unique where they create art through math. You don't need to necessarily design a pattern. You just need to design a system in which colored shapes are thrown, right? And then as you move that system around, and as the player moves around and the tracking moves with them, you'll be able to create this sort of dance, this symphony of color and flashing lights. And while doing so, you're making a challenge for your player to overcome that's hopefully compelling, and I think it is. But bullet hell is definitely one of those not for everyone sort of genres. You need to be able to see it properly. And, well, I would say anyone could do it as long as you're not visually impaired. It's a learning process, and some people are just too intimidated or not interested in learning the language of the eyes that you need to be able to play a game like this. I barely took anything away from me because I've been doing this without any slowdowns so far. Of course, if you are visually impaired, you kind of... I mean, that's a big disadvantage. And if you're colorblind, that can also be an issue. Colors don't necessarily play a part in how, how you have to dodge, but visual clarity is so important, and the colorblindness might take away some of what was otherwise very visually clear design. As someone who's not colorblind, I can't speak to how impactful it is, but I have to imagine it is at least somewhat in something as visually important, or like how important your visuals are, like something like this. There's a big worm coming. I'm sort of leaning on my elbow as I play 99. It's starting to cramp up a bit. If I stretch it out, it'll be fine. That's a good one. Alright, let's keep going.
Overdose.
Oh.
Overdose.
I kind of want to get hit just to see says overdose so I can be like, overdose! I guess low. Overdose. Nope, the center is not safe, not safe, not safe!
Overdose.
Okay, you know, I take a hit that early. I want to do better.
Overdose.
That was close. That was over close. Ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum.
Overdose. Overdose.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Overdose.
Knowing where you're going to be shot from helps a lot, because it lets you easily get into its blind spot. Now, when it's going fast, it's not really helpful because where you're being shot at moves too much, and you'll suddenly be, instead of in the blind spot, you'll be in like the focal spot. You'll be right where it wants you. But in situations where you can track easily where the outside circles are and exploit it, you can get a big advantage. I wonder if it's better to be spinning with the circle or against it. I mean, this is going well, right? But yeah, it's gonna start doing something like this. Oh, this is all different. Yeah, you sort of want to be just outside the circle, enough to dodge from behind, but still get out of the way from the stuff in the middle. Had to use a lot of slid on there, but I made it. Yeah. Did that one without slowdown.
Overdose.
Yeah, confidence.
Overdose.
Don't be overly morose.
Overdose.
Just because you play an overdose.
Overdose.
Over most people are gonna be tripped up by these bullets that get over close.
Overdose.
I noticed I could sort of dodge them by doing a little dance.
Overdose.
Just sort of shimmy back and forth, and I'd actually get out of the way of everything.
Overdose.
Ah, that's fine. I'm happy with the performance I've given so far on this one.
Overdose.
Yeah, that was a nice navigation.
Overdose.
Ah! Last one got me. Oh well. It's still decent. I'm curious what the 5 circle levels are gonna look like, but we'll get there when we get there. I've been thinking lately of, since I stopped doing the reviews, since they're just, they're too much work, to do micro reviews, mini reviews. Itch has its own review, user review system in place, where you can both, view by game and view by author. And I figure I can start leaving reviews on all the games I've played, and especially the ones I've finished. And I want to give a sort of simple review style, like no 7.6 too much water out of 10s, but rather just a pass, fail, and exemplary grade. Sure, it's harsh to say that a game that was donated for charity and that I paid almost nothing for failed, but ultimately, I mean, even a free game can fail, right? No matter how noble the person was for having donated it. It is still a product. It is still a piece of art that can be judged. And that judgment can be that it is no good. One no good I would give is to Pragma. I'd say that one failed. Where it got hard to the point, and basically instantly, that I and other people just didn't have any fun with it. And it could be a good learning experience for the developer. This is really fast. A good learning experience for the developer about being careful about expert syndrome. And finding an inexperienced person to do testing for them to figure out what's too hard or still good enough and challenging. And that's what I would put in the review. I mean, that's definitely the biggest thing I learned from the game myself. And if the developer can learn from it too, that's ideal. Plus, I could then have, like, a spreadsheet of all the games I've played, whether I've beaten them or not, and whether they get a pass, fail, or exemplary. This game, no question about it, gets exemplary. This is a blast. I love this. But most games are just going to be, a pass, and a little description about what they did right, what they did wrong. That they're worth checking out, but not, like, super special. I nailed that one. I do, what I want. Got stretching between all the levels now. This is gonna have a lot of back and forth, that's for sure. But I do just like having the ability to make a repository of, like, I've beaten 36 games so far in my quest to show them all off. 3 games have been abandoned and 2 are ongoing. And here are all the reviews. Pass, pass, fail, pass, exemplary, fail, fail, pass, 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 fail, etc. He does what he wants. And I don't think that would be too much extra work. Unlike the video reviews, which I had to, you know, write a script for and keep in mind everything I wanted to say and edit the video, and get it all ready and time it to the clips. And man, that is way more work to do than I first thought. Makes me really respect people who can do it well. But video editing is definitely not my thing. I wouldn't mind script writing. I wouldn't mind making the written reviews. So why don't I just do that? Sure, they're not as accessible, not as sort of bingeable as a proper video review, but at least I can get something out there. And it's another avenue, another feeler for people to potentially find me, and I think that's a good idea. And it'd be an easy way of posting, like, make an occasional Reddit post like, hey, here's who I am, please check me out, don't ban me. And be able to post both, like, the playlist of all my videos, where I stream live, and all my reviews, so you can very quickly check me out without having to commit to watching a video. Because that's the thing. Sure, a video review is sort of easier to watch since it's passive, but it's also more of a time commitment. You'll see people complain, and I'm not a fan of the back and forth. You'll see people complain, and I'm among them, when, like, a guide for a game is only available in video format, and no one has just, like, written it out. Well, that's a lot of homing.
I do what I want. I do what I want. I do what I want.
That one was okay. The back and forth I thought was a little overdone. What's this heart? Oh. Well, it's got a special background. Maybe this will, like, unlock something, or be kind of the initial final boss, because I believe this game initially released with a lot fewer songs. And has since gotten, you know... Okay, I'm redoing that. Has since gotten updates to improve it. I mean, this is Soundodgerplus, so presumably there was an initial Sound Dodger, and this might have been the end of the original. That would make sense. Yeah. Ah, that's much better. There, keeping to the centers. Oh. Should I have touched the heart? I suppose so, huh? Well, it's too late now. Whoops. Gotta use a little slowdown to get through there. Ah! Man, that is gnarly. I was thinking this song's like kind of easy, but that wasn't. Getting past those walls either required super precision or just a level of speed getting past them before they got too big that I wasn't prepared for. Sort of a stirring motion there to dodge. I pulled it back somewhat. I suppose they all have hearts now? Alright. Well, let's keep going. Let's try to get the heart this time. Oh, wait, this is the same song again. Oh, that's why it sounded familiar. So this is just hard mode now. Well, let's try to do this and get the heart, and we'll see. Then I think we'll call it. I mean, you've seen all the songs now, so... not that much need to just see me do them, but harder. Well, I got it. And then I got hit. But I still got the heart. You can't take that away from me unless you can. I mean, I'm not red anymore, so it probably did take it away from me. Like, gotta pick up the heart and then not get hit. That's pretty brutal. Suppose this is something I could take on Don't Make Us Bored, not as a speedrun, but as a showcase. But I'd have to get good at it, probably. Ah, it wasn't safe. I was thinking the middle was safe. Overlapping the roads makes them a lot trickier. You kind of want to exit them just before they're done, so you can get into the next one. Same with this, you want to get into the circle before the new circle before the last one finishes, or you won't make it in time. Luckily, being able to so well modulate how fast you go since you are controlling a mouse makes things a lot more, I guess, skill-based. You're not limited by how fast the guy moves as if you were playing with a joystick. The mouse can move virtually instantly. It can also move instantly virtually. Yeah, it did not seem to count me getting the heart. You know what? Let's do 1 5-star, and then we'll call it. And this was A Walk in the Park last time. Ha 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 ha. That's the name of the song. And it's also a description of the difficulty. But ironically, it's not a description of the difficulty now on this hard mode. That's the joke. I made the funny. Definitely want to get these things aimed away from me. Yep, there's the heart in the middle. Yep, and there it goes. Ooh, yeah, I mean, that's tough. Having to navigate these really tight tunnels with homing blocks following you is pretty nasty. Slowdown helps a lot, though. But, I mean, this seems reasonably doable for what is 2 circles more difficult than anything I've done yet so far. But definitely does take a lot more doing, too. A lot more slowdown, for sure. Ah, and I'm still getting hit, of course. Oh, I was not reading that at all. Now I'm just getting hit all over the place. Alright, that's what 5 stars is like, huh? Nope. Yeah, so, yeah, that's what 5 is like. That's pretty rough. And you gotta get hearts to get these last ones.